here by me.
Oh Lord, let me go get that. And when you told that story that day, I said I thought it was just me.
You can't have ashy lips.
What man? You just be feeling desperate and just like kind of homely and whatnot.
You live. You can't have ashy lips.
What man? You just be feeling desperate and just like homely and whatnot. Am I a little bit behind on the?
Yeah, I heard the.
Can't have ashy. What man? You just be feeling desperate and just like. Okay, what are you What are you hitting the replay already, champ?
No, we just went live on YouTube. So.
Okay, hey, live on YouTube. Okay, let me be quiet. Okay.
No, let me send a message out to the people. Let them know what we're doing.
Yeah, man.
All right, I'm getting it all ready. Send a message out to Flock Notes.
It's only on YouTube or Facebook, or just YouTube.
I gotta share it to Facebook.
Okay, because I was gonna put a link.
Hold on now. Hold on. You're moving too fast.
I was about to share a link.
All right, so we are good on that. Just give you a little time to join in.
Oh man, I'm tired.
Ain't none of that.
Tired.
They keep that same energy.
Ain't none of that. We can't do
that.
It's been
a long day.
We can't do that.
I had some ice cream, so hopefully give me some extra.
That thing
energy.
said some ice cream.
Some sugar.
All right, I'm sending you all both the YouTube link so you can send it out to your people.
Okay.
And we don't have to. Oh yeah, that's right. We don't have to do anything different. Are you already recording?
Yep. I am just sending you guys the link. All right, here we go. All right, let's go ahead and get this thing started. So, everyone, I want to introduce and welcome. First of all, welcome to the EMPOWERMAY conference. We have a very special guest, a very fun topic today, speaking particularly on relationships. So this is going to be fun. So before I let the speaker come forth, I'm gonna read a short intro about him so you know who he is. Elam B. King, Hackensack. Is that how you say it? Hackensack, New Jersey. All right. Hackensack, New Jersey native.
Straight from Superman. That's straight from Superman right there. Superman 2.
Profound author, exhilarating speaker, provocative thought leader. After receiving a Bachelor of Science in Marketing from Hampton University. Okay, shout out Hampton. He went on to receive an MBA in project management and an MBA in marketing from American Intercontinental University. All right, he's a vice president of a successful advertising, sales, branding, and mobile application development firm, and resides in Lithonia, Georgia. Elam is a proud husband and father of a blended family of 6. All right, let's make some noise. Let's welcome Elam King.
Whew. Oh man, listen, that blended family of 6 that depressed me real quick. So I don't know whether I can continue forward right now. How's everybody doing?
Good. How about you?
Good. So what are we supposed to be talking about here today? About happiness and a little bit of relationships and stuff.
A little bit of that, stuff. And then just don't mind me for a second. I'm just handling all the social media side of things for the first 5 minutes. But if you want, go ahead, kick it off. Tell us a little bit about yourself, and the ball is in your court.
Okay, so if every now and then a little mosquito jump in front of me, just, I'm from the north, originally from New Jersey, so we don't, like, my blood doesn't go really good with all these bugs and whatnot, but the way this internet is set up, it just seems to be better that I'm outside. But first of all, I just want to thank you guys so much. Thank you, Greater Works, for just giving me an opportunity of just sitting before this platform for today. I'm not going to be long, even though normally, now it depends on how many stories I tell, because, that depending upon the stories, then it gets longer, right?
Yeah.
So just a little background about myself. Originally from New Jersey, like I said before, attending Hampton University. That was my first taste of the South. All right, and when I got the taste of the South, I was like, I'm not going back up north, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I originally, started off coming out of Hampton. I was a marketing major, and I was just all about just chasing money, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
That's all that really mattered to me. And so I was just regular old middle class citizen.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the piece that was just important to me is just getting this money. So I had been in sales in high school, so I was always good in this. So I said, well, bump it. I'm just going to go right into sales. So after I graduated, I think I graduated on Friday and started working on Monday on a job that actually, those of you, let me date you real quick. If you know MCI, okay, you're a little bit older than everybody else, okay? So that's who I work for. It's now Verizon, but and so inside of that sales space, I had an opportunity of having some successes or whatever. And so I guess I was the one that kind of came out here and did the whole go to school and get good grades and go to college and get a good job with benefits. So that's exactly what, after they told us to do that, that's what I did. And so I grew up in Christian school from day one. My first couple of years through fifth grade, I was in Christian school. So all the stories and the Bible verses and all that, knew it. My mom had us in church every Sunday. I was there. But really, I was like, okay, God, this money, I'm going to be right back, God. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And not saying that was the best thing to do.
Yeah.
I definitely paid for that. And that's kind of, as we're looking at happiness and things of that nature, because it's so much ambiguity that exists around this subject, right, of just being happy, right, and what makes me happy and who makes me happy or whatever case it be. I want to give you guys about 2 or 3 steps just initially, and then we can kind of open it up for conversation. Does that make sense? Because there are some individuals that right now, based upon this lovely climate that we live in, and when I say climate, I'm just basically talking about the whole COVID situation. And so, you have some people that there are some things that are compounding right now, right, from a happiness perspective. You're already not feeling kind of happy, right, and now you got society coming along and kind of blindsiding you, right? And so I want to walk through just a couple of stages with regard to, I know the topic is more of the pursuit for happiness, but I want you guys to understand how much that's entrenched inside of your households, inside of your relationships. So, Cherie, with you being on the line, right? You know how they always say happy wife, happy life. If you're not happy, it's a Mr. Happy or what? How does that go?
Look, I'm different. I don't really like that saying. I like both people.
I can't stand it personally, but it's a setup for failure.
Yeah. So I feel like if I'm the only one that's happy, it's like, when does he get to be happy? Like,
right.
Yeah.
Right. What about you, Champ? When you think about, hey, if Chelsea's good, then the house is good, or what? Is that how it really functions? Watch yourself. She might be in the background.
She watching.
That's how I have been trained to think. I think a lot of times, like as men, we've been taught that it's just how it is. Like for us to carry that pressure and kind of like if we're pressured and kind of stressed out, that's just part of your burden. You just have to deal with it, and that's just how it is. So for me, I used to go by that philosophy, like, oh, long as they good, I'm good. But similar to what Cherie said, I do feel like it's supposed to be both ways, where it's a teamwork type thing, a team effort. And I really quickly, I have two friends actually joining me here also.
How y'all doing? How y'all
Hey.
What up, friend?
I got one, and I have Kelsey
Hi.
over
What
here.
up, other friend? All right.
So if they chime in, I'm pretty sure
Absolutely.
they have some questions and all, but I don't agree with that saying. But most times, if the wife is happy, things do go a little smoother for you on your end.
Thanks.
I was gonna say, chiming in as a wife to Eldewan, Larry, whatever you guys want to call him.
So basically he ain't gonna be talking, so that's fine. Okay, go ahead.
From a wife's perspective, for me, I always think of it as like it's a partnership. So
Right.
In fact, like I don't like if he wants to think of it that way, cool. But like I never want to have that perspective in my mind.
Yeah.
Because ultimately we're
Right.
life together, and
Right.
it's to make sure that I'm trying to help him out as much as possible and bring joy into his life too, because he's a human being. Like, he was not created to like serve me as if I was just like the most awesome thing on this earth ever. Like, you know,
Right.
So there's these times when he has to confront me and be like, "Hey, Kelsey, you're not being smart," and that's uncomfortable. And you know, I the room sometimes have a little attitude about it.
Right. Yeah.
I'm thankful that like he confronted me about it and didn't just think about, oh, I have to make sure she's happy the whole time. But I also appreciate the fact that he is aware and conscious of how I feel about things too.
Yeah, I'll chime in a little bit on it just to bring a little more reality to it, because we've been talking about it a lot lately. Like kind of like my bro Steve was saying, like we grew up on that phrase, you know, happy wife, happy life. You grow up hearing that, and so for me, sometimes the majority of that is the reality. I know if my wife isn't happy, I'm not happy, you know, like, and if she's not happy, like, I'm trying to do, like, we literally had that conversation on the way here today, because she's been, like, super chill, super low key, and I'm like, baby, like, I just want you to be happy. Like, if I don't see you happy, I'm not really going to be happy. So, like, I feel like it's you know, like, but yeah, like, vice versa, she feels that, but I feel like a lot of times, like, that phrase is reality, even though we want to make that shift where it's not. But yeah.
Right. And here's the thing. What I'm hearing, even when you guys are talking, this kind of goes into the space that I was talking about with regard to, you know, you feel like that if she isn't happy, then kind of like you aren't happy, right? And I think that we want to peel back that onion for a moment, and I want to not only talk to my singles, but just talk to people, period. And I do want to rest in a moment for my people who are unmarried, okay, first, because, you know, I don't care what they say. You are in the best situation, period, okay? Because you have married people get on my nerves. They always think they know something. You know what I'm saying? They think just because they got a ring and that they know something. And you know, and I understand that, because a lot of times we think that we look at it because marriage is a destination, and it's not. It's a journey. And that journey actually starts when you are in your unmarried phase. And I think that, you know, first and foremost, and I'm connecting this not only because that we are, you know, representing Greater Works, but I just want to move you inside of a space of that. You know, the first portion of your happy is understanding your relationship with God. And I want to start off by saying that the reason why that is so important is because, as I alluded to earlier today, you know, when they say that God is a jealous God, like that's the truth. Okay. And so what did I do? I went out here and I, you know, like I said, I had done the whole Christian grow up thing, you know, whatever, and go to church and all this and that. But I was like, yo, let me get this money. And then God was like, hey, what about me? And I'm like, I'll be right back. You know what I'm saying? And I ran over here, and in actuality, from a monetary perspective, based upon my peers, I was doing it, if you will, right? You know, bringing in a certain style of income. You know, when I graduated in 1998, okay, watch this, from college, right? 1998. So, you know, people thought they were rich when they were automatically making like $40,000 and $50,000 a year, right? But within a year or two, I was making 90, right? So you couldn't tell me nothing, right? Everybody else was like, I'm like, hey, see y'all later. You know what I'm saying? And I was in sales, shaking and moving, doing my thing, just getting that rush, that dopamine from shaking and moving and doing that. But all the while, God was like, hey, by the way, I'm right here. And I wasn't paying attention to that and messed around and just, got married or whatever case it be. And so all of a sudden, and I remember this happened when I was 20, I was like 24, 23 or something like that. And so somebody said to me, they said, you know what, one day you're going to hit this wall, right, when you're like in your early 30s. And I was just like, wall? Ain't no wall. Now you got to think about it. Out of ignorance, I went from home to college to working. So I never saw struggle. Mm-hmm. So in my idea, I was just like, what do you mean hit a wall? Like, I don't understand. What does that look like, right? That's y'all and y'all bad decision making. You know what I'm saying? And so, but guess what happened? That wall came along. And the major reason why that was, one of the reasons why that was because, number one, I didn't focus on building a relationship with God. I knew of him, but I didn't build a relationship with him. And so during that time and the lack of me doing that, I was losing more and more pieces of myself. Mm-hmm. So then all of a sudden, God being the jealous God that he does, he going to pull some stuff back. All of a sudden, the bills going to start showing up a little bit more, and, somebody going to be getting on your nerves a little bit more, and different things start happening or whatever. And I'm just like, wait a minute. I don't understand what's happening. My family is eating dinner and I'm on my computer. They're happy because they're like, okay, we eating good and we living. And I'm like, I'm not happy. And so what I did during that time is that, and so this is the reason why that I want to share this off the top with my singles, is that if you don't get this down now, what you might mess around and do, if you don't get this down with the relationship between you and God so that he can begin to open your mind about certain things, is that you're going to look up and you're automatically going to start losing some things, right? And so during that time, one of the things that I said to myself is that I'm just like, well, I know God, whatever case it be, but, I really, is there really a place for me, right, from a spirituality perspective? And I want to read this off to some people because sometimes, as you're looking to, and some people are teetering on that relationship that they want to have with God or whatever. And so, and understand the importance of this. Before we walk into that, I want you to understand why, whether it is somebody that you've heard about that has been great, quote unquote, or whether you're looking at yourself and saying maybe I'm not good enough. I want to read something to you really quickly. So these are the individuals in the Bible, okay, that God called on, okay, and they had some issues going on, okay. So just in case you think you got issues, let me tell you about some people who had some issues that you heard these names, okay. So Noah was a drunk, okay. Abraham was too old, okay. Jacob was a liar, Lord have mercy. Leah was ugly. Who did that? That's wrong. Joseph was abused, okay. Gideon was afraid. Moses had a stuttering problem. How about that, huh? Samson had long hair and was a womanizer. Come on, Samson. So Rahab was a prostitute. Jeremiah and Timothy were too young. Okay. Elijah was suicidal. All right. David had an affair and was a murderer. Okay. Come on. Isaiah preached naked. That's interesting. All right. Jonah ran from God. Okay. Like none of y'all do. I know y'all run straight to him, but that's okay. Job went bankrupt. Okay. No, nobody's ever done that. Peter denied Christ 3 times. Okay. The disciples fell asleep while praying. That's all of them. All 12. They fell asleep. Sometimes people fall asleep. Never mind. Martha worried about everything. All right. The Samaritan woman was divorced. Zacchaeus was too small. Paul was too religious. Timothy had an ulcer, and Lazarus was dead. So why am I bringing that up? It's because some of us, sometimes you might be thinking that maybe there's some things that you might have been through in life, and that maybe that you're not deserving, or maybe that you're not even the person that should seek guidance and be in church, whatever case it be. But these are individuals, these are names that we've all heard over the years, and as you can see, they didn't have, they had a tarnished, resume, if you will, right? And we have to understand, and I know that it says in Romans 3:23 that all have sinned, right? And then there's that verse about, even in the perfection, like you're a dirty rag or whatever. So I want to take a moment and just help everybody understand that regardless of wherever you are in life, a part of your happy number one, comes from your relationship with God. And because in doing that, you'll begin to understand some of the things that you have to go through. When we earlier, who they say, Elijah, whatever, was suicidal, whatever, and that's something that has run rampant sometimes throughout our community even more right now. And so, because sometimes people might think that, that you're the only one going through something. And I want to let you know that you're not. You're not the only person going through something. And so just because that you might have had something going on, or you might have had an infraction, or maybe you are currently experiencing that infraction, that does not deny you're happy. And God loves you just that much that, as you can see, he actually likes to use the people like the Elams of the world that got like the jacked up past. I ain't even tell you, I'm 43, and the first 42 chapters got like some bad stuff in it. Okay, but I understand, and I love the relationship that I have with God, to where as we begin to communicate and talk, and so as that happens, one of my favorite verses is Romans 8:28, right? Okay, because in that verse, I want you to understand this kind of sets up for what the next piece is. In that verse, let me make sure that I read, because sometimes you got church folk that just, I don't want to misquote it. Okay, so let me just hold on, champ. Let me go to it, because they might get me. So hold on. Let me make sure I quote it 100%, right? So Romans 8:28. If you look at that really quickly, all right? Okay, so Romans 8:28, it says, and we know that God causes everything to work, and this is the NLT version, and we know that God causes everything to work together for the good of those who love God and are called according to his purpose for them. Okay? So there goes the setup into what's the next thing that can bring you your happy. Because, so in that verse, you have the instructions. So, wait a minute, hold on. So, basically, stuff happens, but it's all going to work out if you love God and are called by your purpose. That's it. There goes it. The one thing about humans that is guilty of it as well is that we overthink things. We think that it's like a theory of relativity, or like, something that you got to do 10 or 15 or 20 things in order to reach success or happiness or whatever. But the simplicity that exists inside of the 1,000 different scriptures that exist inside of the Bible is that, okay, basically you have to understand you're going to go through some things. Okay? It says all things work to the good. It didn't say that they're going to feel good. Okay? So if you understand that they're not going to feel good, again, you start off with your relationship with God of just understanding that, hey, I'm going to love you, and I'm going to try to walk down this path, and I already know that it's not going to feel good. So your solace and your happiness in that moment of knowing that, you know what, whether it's Champ, whether it's Cherie, whether it's my man over there and my lady over there, we all know that, you know what, you're going to be not feeling some things good sometimes, right? But then here goes the setup for the next step. So I want to kind of move quickly because, I can talk for forever, but I want you to rest in this point of why it's so important to have your relationship with God, because as you do that, you're going to be able to see things. Your mind it's going to allow you to expand beyond, oh, why is this happening to me? Because you were called. Okay? Why is this happening to me? Because God's trying to move you in a certain direction. Well, I'm not good enough. Well, neither is anybody else. Okay? And so then on top of that, watch this. If you're just like, okay, you know what, if you're thinking, well, why do things keep happening to me or whatever, I want you just really quickly, okay, because I don't want to do this too much, okay, but I'm going to do it a little bit. All right, I want you to Luke 22. We're going to Luke 22 this thing, okay? All right, Luke 22, and we're going to go to verse 31 real quick, okay? Because maybe you think that just because, that you get saved and that you begin to walk in the light from a scriptural perspective and have your relationship with God, maybe you think that that's supposed to clear you, and I'm letting you know that it doesn't. Right? It's almost like getting a job. Right? When you get the job, you all excited, right? But now you got to do what? You got to do the responsibilities. You got to have the accountability. You got to get up in the morning, go to bed late at night. You got things that you have to do in order to receive that blessing, that paycheck. So in order for you to have this relationship with God, you have to now begin to walk in a certain light. And I want you to understand that before you do that, your name is going to get called by Satan. I want you to understand that. Okay? Oh, you don't believe me? Let's go to the scripture. All right. So it says, Simon, Simon, Satan has asked to sift each of you like wheat. All right, but I have pleaded in prayer for you, Simon, that your faith should not fail. So when you have repented and turned to me again, strengthen your brothers. Okay? So in other words, okay, you know, and then Peter went on to say, you know, Lord, I'm ready and all that, right? And then, you know, then that's when Peter like got it real wrong and like denied Jesus or whatever case may be. But my point of the reason why that I'm bringing that in is that because you're going to get called by Satan, okay, and you're going to get tested. Okay, but watch this. If you understand that stuff like that's going to happen, that you're going to have stuff that's thrown at you, it's going to allow you to continue forward into the next phase, which is one of the biggest pieces that sometimes that we miss is that in that verse, remember Romans 8:28, what did it say? Okay, it said those who love God, so let's just say you're already in step one, you're trying to love God, walk and do all that, okay, and that are called by his purpose. Basically, why are you here? Okay? What is the reason why? What is the talent that exists inside of you? And are you walking in that? And so let me dial this back because this is where happy kind of bumps a lot of people in the head. Because it doesn't matter how much money that you're making. Okay? That's not your happy. If you don't believe me, go talk to somebody rich. Okay? Go talk to somebody who's done well for themselves. Okay? I'm not going to say I'm wealthy, but I've done well over time. And I'm telling you right now, when all the bills are paid, you can still be very unhappy. Okay, because here's the thing. I was walking inside of this space of, you know, sales and shaking and moving and doing my thing, but it wasn't really doing nothing for me, you know. And so when I remember I came to my wife and I was like, I don't think I'm going to be doing this very much longer. So she was like, wait, what? Where you going? You know what I'm saying? Because she's like, okay, she's liking the blessings that are coming in. But meanwhile, I'm just like, okay, I know you good, but I'm not good, right? And so as I began to walk and move forward, one of the things that I noticed is that, you know, God loved me just that much. He kind of forced me. He kind of backdoored me, right? And I'm gonna tell you the reason why, right? Because remember, I said in the beginning how much I was always paper chasing, whatever case may be. So I ended up walking into an organization somewhere around, you know, 2009, 2010, when things were bad. That's during the recession, right? So the money's down. So I'm up here like, wait a minute, God, what's going on? I don't like what's going on, right? And so then this company kind of came along and these people that I embraced and began to walk with, so I started doing something really crazy. I started reading, okay? All right, so I started reading, all right? And so in the process of doing that, and so guess what? Because I didn't even like to read. Right? But I started reading things that I liked. There were business books and the John Maxwell's and the Cal Lamones and the Zig Ziglars and the Tony Robbins and the Les Browns and the Napoleon Hills, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this stuff is really. So you know what? Watch me. So you know what? If I believe that I can do something with a business, then it's actually going to happen. And I might not get it in the beginning, but I just need to keep thinking that I can do it, and then eventually it's going to happen. Sounds like faith, doesn't it? Okay? So what happened in that space is that God began to show me him through my business. Okay? Now, what I'm glad at is that I was able to receive that because God loves you just that much that he's going to start sending, some of you have already been sent signals of what can what can do better, right? Or what you can like more. And instead of, and what I want to encourage you, particularly during this time, during COVID and whatever case may be, where we just have a lot more time just chilling by ourselves, right? And so my question to you would be, what are you doing during this time? If you're currently getting up every day and going to work and going to bed, you're going to look up and 20 years are going to go by very quickly. You're going to look up and little Johnny, that's 2, is going to be 22. Okay, you're going to look up and all of a sudden be like, I don't understand. Can y'all still hear me good? Because sometimes my connection. Okay, we're good. Okay, so, you know, you're going to look up and be like, I don't understand, right? And let's just dial this back. Even for those of you who don't have children, even for those of you who are single, let me explain one thing to my single folk real quickly. If you would like to be in a relationship, go find yourself first, okay? Go find yourself first. Now, I don't know how long it's going to be after you find yourself because, well, Abraham, he had to wait, right? He was old, right? So sometimes some people's, gauge of where they're going to go. Maybe they just find themselves in year one and they just take off, right? Folks like 25 making millions, right? And some other people, they got to wait. They got some trials and tribulations that they have to go through. They got some fine tuning so that when their blessing is actually sent to them, that they're ready. Because here's my thing. For some of you, you might feel some type of way of why, you haven't reached a certain level of happiness, or why you haven't reached a certain level of success within your relationship that can make you happy, right? But here's my thing. If my name was God for some of us, I would not send you a blessing of a person. Why? You're not even doing what I put you on this earth for. You're too scared to walk out there and walk in your purpose. You got too many excuses. You know what I'm saying? You got too many things that you're sitting there and saying to yourself, or why this can't work, or why this won't happen, and I don't have this, and I don't have that. That's right. You don't have it. And what's supposed to happen during this journey is you're supposed to figure it out. And in the process of you figuring out, that's where your happy comes from. It does not come from the ultimate goal. Yeah, when you see people on stage and they might accept an award or whatever case it be, they're crying, oh my God, I just remember everything that I've been through, whatever. That is actually their happy, what they've been through, right? And so when we're looking inside of, walking inside of your purpose and the understanding of that and how important that is, I want you to understand this, is that before you walk into having happiness inside of a relationship, it is your responsibility to find your own happy by yourself. Okay, it is not your significant other or your spouse's job to make you happy. That's your job. Okay, it's their job to complement the happy that you've already created inside of yourself. Okay, it's like when you wake up in the morning. It's like having a tank of gas, right? And so when you're operating throughout the day, like you're using energy. So let's just say in the morning you're over here on full, right? And over here is E, right? Okay, so throughout the day, you're using, energy, whatever case it be, throughout the day or whatever. And so what happens is that when you're operating inside of something that you don't love, that's not your calling, your gas tank moves way faster. Way faster. You're using up way more energy because you don't even like what you're doing, right? You want to know who those type of people are? I'm going to tell you right now. Everybody who's looking for Friday is not walking in their purpose. I don't care what you say. They're not. Because when you're walking inside of it, you don't even see the days. Now, yes, rest and all this and that, that's all great. But when you hear somebody constantly talking about that they're tired versus rest are two different things. When you're operating inside of your purpose throughout that day, what happens is that you need rest because you have a body, right? So it tires. But when you're not operating inside of your purpose, that's why you constantly hear people talking about that they're tired. And what's the difference? Because when you're operating inside of your purpose and walking where your passion is, you actually get fuel from doing. Okay, so as you're working throughout the day, maybe if you're not operating inside of your purpose by 11 o'clock, you've already used a quarter tank. Everybody else who's been walking in their purpose, they way down here. Okay, by 3, 4 o'clock, you all the way over here, off the rack, right?
Yeah.
The other person, they're sitting at a half a tank. So then guess what? They can come home to a significant other and still provide them the energy that's necessary to still maintain their household, because yeah, you got to work, but you also have a household to take care of. So before you walk into wanting to be with somebody else, if you want to maximize and be the best wife or husband, intentional wife, intentional husband that you can be, go walk in your purpose first. And don't you date not one person until you, you know what I'm saying? Don't you go committed. You can date for entertainment, but don't you get committed. It's rude. Okay, how you gonna come to me and expect me to understand you, and you don't even understand you yet? That's rude.
In relation to what you mentioned about finding happiness in your spouse, so are you saying that we shouldn't look? All right, so for instance, are you saying that we should find our happiness within ourselves first, and secondly from the spouse, or we shouldn't be looking for happiness from the spouse?
No, I don't think that it's right that you should look for happy from somebody. You should look to make sure that they're a good complement for that happy, right? So, and there's different aspects, and we can go the next 2 hours on that portion. But here's the thing: if I'm able to watch this, okay, if I'm able to look at Michelle, all right, and say that, okay, I'm going in this direction. I want to be, let's just say I want to be, okay, I'll use an example of a good friend of mine. He is he's an emergency room doctor, right? He works 1 week on and 1 week off. So that means, and so he works from 7 at night to 9 o'clock in the morning, right? For a week, and then the next week he's not working. Now, he's a doctor, right? So obviously, you know, doctor, lawyer, that's who you want to hook up with, right? But let's just think about it. If you're a quality time person, if he finds a lady who's quality time, right, or who's really, really big on family and being at events and stuff like that, it don't sound like he going to be at Little Johnny's baseball game too often.
Yeah.
Okay? Doesn't sound like he going to be home at night for dinner. Okay? Doesn't sound like that, you know, that there's certain aspects that he's able to, watch this, compliment her on, because if she understood where she is and what she loves about herself, then she could look and say, okay, yes, your check might be $500,000, but you can't compliment my happy.
Yeah.
Now, the dog and the picket fence and the house and all that's good, cars and all that, but the real portion of the happy, will it exist? No, it won't. So that's why it's important. That's why, you know, to your point of it's important to look inside first, so then you can give the other person an opportunity of signing up for what you are going to experience throughout this life. Because here's the thing. That's why you can't change nobody. Whatever that they are, if he wants to be an emergency room doctor, young lady can't come along and change him. Oh, maybe I'll just make him come home. That's his purpose. That's what he wants to do. So you wrong if you come along and just like, I want to change him and bring him home. No, that's his calling. How about you go get somebody else? Okay, he's somebody else's blessing, and you're somebody else's blessing too. Does that make sense?
A great company said, they said they can help take your personal happiness over the top, but I don't think you can make someone responsible for your happiness. I think
agree.
Also many times in modern day relationships where we have this social media stigma of couple goals and different things where you find that happiness in that person. It's almost like that checklist that we're looking for. And I found too.
No, there's a lot of things. Man, listen, this is good. There's a lot of things that we were taught growing up that were wrong. Okay, I mean, wrong. Okay, I mean, there's so many things that were, you know, my better half.
Yeah.
Okay, let's just really look at this. Okay, better half. Okay, two halves make hell. Two wholes make heaven. I should come to you whole, not half. I need you to complete me. I thought God completes me. So how are you going to complete me? Again, let's look at the order. Get your order first with God, right? Then if he gives you the direction, you're going to walk wholeheartedly into that direction, right? So your decision-making for number one allows you to walk into number two, okay? So, you know, just like, you know, hey, they met and fell in love and got married. Really? So what type of due diligence did y'all really do along that way? Because, in the old school days, yes, you know, you start using the phrase a lot after you get a little bit older. Back in the day, okay, you could do that, all right, and be together 50 years. That was before the internet. That was before extra distractions. That was before the devil just really started digging in to this world and really, you know, messing with them. So some things that used to exist that you're just like, oh, my grandmother did it, and that's nice. That ain't got nothing to do with you. Okay, grandmama and great-granddaddy, they didn't do pre-marriage counseling either. I wish you would try to get married now and not do pre-marriage counseling, okay? You're setting yourself up for failure. So there's some things that we need to unlearn, and that's why, again, it says in the Bible, be not conformed to this world, but be ye renewed. And I don't want to really kind of Bible beat people, but from a church folk that are out there, we have to really start taking a look at some of these verses and really applying kingdom principles to our lives and just not thinking that that was just something that was for back in the day. Right, that's for right now too. So, go ahead.
Question. All right. So, how do you, as a spouse, what are some ways that you can complement your spouse's happiness from that other side of things? Like, how can I complement my wife's happiness?
That's a great question, and that would entail, you know, number one, the amount of due diligence that you do in order to really know who you're dealing with. So, shameless plug. You know, in my book, Understanding a Man, Empowering Women with Tools for Lasting Relationships. So what I did was I interviewed 24 men about various topics of the heart, and I wrote about it. It's available on Audible and Amazon. Okay. So chapter 4 is Do You See Me? And in that chapter, I particularly only let the single men talk because they were sharing ways that they could encourage their daughters to really be able to link up with somebody. And so there's 4 phases that you go through, you know, in that you want to look at when you are in the single dating intentional phase, right? So phase 1, I was talking to the ladies when I said this, but this really goes across the board, but we could just say this for, you know, for the ladies right now. You know, step 1 is figure out whether you're dealing with a boy or a man. What does that mean? Let's go back to what I said. The boy was Elam getting money. The man was studying to show himself approved. He was figuring out himself first. Boy will be like, oh, I've been hurt before and all this and that and blah, blah, blah. Man is kind of like a tree. Chris Jackson used this example in the book. He said a man is like a tree, right? When you cut a tree in half and you look, you'll see these rings, right? And so so a boy is like, yeah, I got these rings and I got hurt on this ring and that ring and then I messed up this year. A man is like, come on in, take a look at my rings, see who I am, right? And then see whether or not you want to sign up for this thing or not, right? So in phase 1, you're figuring out whether you're dealing with a boy or a man. Phase 2 is insert yourself into his world, okay, and just pay attention. Now, what does that mean? Again, let's go back to the point of you now know what you're doing. And you know your direction from a godly perspective, right? You also now are beginning to walk in your purpose. Doesn't mean that you have to be fully there, right? But you know which direction that you're walking in. Now, if you take that, who you're trying to be, who you're walking to be, you can insert that into somebody else's whole other brain. And now figure out, does this brain that I have fit in this world? Okay? So again, if we go back to the doctor thing, if let's just say she's a, I don't know, whatever, school teacher, I don't know. So, you know, she wants him, she sticks herself into his world and she's like, okay, well, I want you to be at these programs in the afternoon and I want you to be at this and I want you to be that. She loves being a math teacher. He loves being an emergency room doctor. He look good. She look good. So you could be like, well, they look good. They should be able to hook up. He make good money. You should be able to hook up with him. No, because phase 3 of that is that whatever they show you, believe them.
Facts.
Okay? Yeah. So, again, let's walk. First, you're figuring out who you're dealing with, right? And that comes from the due diligence that you did for yourself, right? Then you're inserting yourself gracefully into their world and you're paying attention, right? And then phase 3, you're saying, do I fit in here? And what I see you do, can I sign up for it? Not change them, okay? Not try to, try to be, Captain Save them. No. Believe what they're saying, okay? And then here's the thing. When you, at that point, here comes discernment, ladies, okay? Discernment to whereas whatever, make a decision now. Not a year from now, not 2 years from now, not 5 years from now, okay? You make a decision now while it's month 1 or month 2 or whatever. Drop 1 tear and keep it moving, right? Before you pop out little Johnny and now you want to stay on in there, right? Or before you want to commit 2 or 3 years and buy houses together and all this and that. You didn't fit in day 1. And you try to take the square peg and stick it in the round hole just because they look like this or they smell like this or the teeth look like this or the sex is like this. That's wrong. And you knew better. So I hope that go ahead.
One thing my mom has told, like, my sister and I that has stuck with us, well, we're married now, but when we were dating, she said, pay attention to how he reacts, like his different emotions. He's under pressure, angry, mad, and like, that's him.
That's him.
Don't like, oh, that's just because of this. Like, he's showing himself.
Right,
So
right.
That stuck with me at least. So yeah.
Right. And when somebody shows you are, believe them.
Yeah.
Do not try to change them. And I think that particularly for ladies, one thing that I've always heard is that, women marry men for who they can be. men marry women for who they are.
Yeah.
They're both wrong,
Yeah.
right? Because if you marry somebody for who they can be, perhaps you're trying to nurture them, stick around, because you feel like if I could just get him to, meanwhile, he like, I ain't never. But you think that you can change that, right?
That's
and
crazy.
So when he doesn't, then this is where resentment comes from, because you married him in year 1 thinking that by year 7 to 10, old patient lady one, that he was going to switch up.
Yeah,
right, and that he was gonna. I must have said something. My man about to jump on in, but that's what I'm saying. Like, and so men, that's a lot of times we're not paying attention to what we're seeing or whatever. So we're like, okay, Cherie, you're dope today. So I'm just gonna, for who you are, not realizing that your ancestral patterns and the different things that you're expressing. This is who you're going to become. So I need to be ready for this. And I need to figure out whether I want to sign up. Seth had to figure out whether he was going to sign up for the 20 year from now, Cherie. That's the investment. Okay, so that's why when people like, that we linked up and we just got married, the hopeless romantic, I just want to fall in love and get married. Dude, that's not responsible.
It's not real.
It's not responsible. You're signing up for forever. You got to do some due diligence, right? You got to do some homework. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Cham. They get me fired up on that topic. My bad.
No, I was laughing because you're right how you say women kind of marry for potential. You will hear them say, oh, he's got potential. Yeah, but you never hear the guy say, yo, she got potential. They like,
yeah. And you know what? And the reason why, here's the thing. This is the reason why that inherently, ladies, that you have to pay attention to some of the factors that exist inside of you. You're a nurturer by nature, right? So you're used to taking something that's like this big and making it this big. Biologically, Chauncey, your brain is bigger than Chelsea's brain. Biologically. Your brain is the size of it is bigger. So hers is like here and yours is like here. But guess what? Your neurons are the same, which is your thinking capacity. So that means that, ladies, from day one, you've been doing more with less. Right? And so watch this. So you give a woman sperm, they make a baby. You give them groceries, they make a meal. You give them a house, they make a home. You give her a little idea, come on. She's going to help nurture and grow that beyond what that is, right? That's why sometimes men, that they get on our nerves, because they're taking the seed and they're growing it. So by nature, when you meet, Hector, and Hector looked like that he got potential, right? You're like, well, maybe I can sit here and nurture that, right? Meanwhile, Hector's like, don't you nurture this, because I ain't gonna be like that. Now, and that's how you get used, because Hector know that you're trying to nurture him. So he's going to take advantage of you, because you're just like, oh, well, if he just, and every now and then he give you a little piece of that, and then he take it away, and you go fighting back to see, I know he can get there, and he don't belong there. And if you paid attention to his world, you would notice that you don't fit in it.
Yeah.
I want to pause real quick and just let everyone know, we have Elam King speaking, relationship expert, author of Understanding the Man. And he's dropping nuggets. Feel free to comment your questions into the chat room box. Please ask the questions, and that's good stuff. That's really good stuff. I didn't know if either you two had anything to say or add, but
you fired.
Yeah.
I have one more piece that I want to share, and then maybe we can go into some questions if that's okay. Because so we talked about in the beginning, in the first phase of your relationship with God, right? And then we moved into, after that kind of transitions you into walking inside of your purpose and your passion, and that might be an extended amount of time, an extended amount of years, whatever the case to be. Let me give you the secret. Listen, okay? I want y'all to pay attention to this, all right? Because they don't tell people this too often. Now, in church how they talk about tithing all the time, and it gets on people's nerves, and they feel like, oh, the church just wants to, get money, whatever the case it be. Let me share something with you. When you sow a seed, I don't care if my bishop or anybody go head to the club with it. My intention with my seed, when I sow it, now of course my bishop would never go to the club, but my intention, that's their daddy, right? But my bishop would never go. But what he does with it, that's not my concern. I'm doing my assignment. My assignment is to sow my seed, right? And so here's the thing. Now how it's received, whatever case it be, that's something different, right? So watch this. one of the major ways as you're walking inside of your journey and figuring out your passion, even if you don't know what it is yet, I want to encourage you to, number one, sit down and do a vision board, right? And try to begin to map out some things. See it first on the canvas of your imagination. Every time God wanted somebody to do something big, he gave them a vision. It was a dream. It was look up at the stars. It was, whatever. Your imagination is there to grow you beyond for where you are. The problem is we use our imagination for the wrong things. And 90% of the things that you think about negative never even happen. But let me just keep going. So, while you're walking inside of this space and you're trying to move forward, one of the best ways of propelling yourself forward, go help someone else.
Mic drop.
Okay?
Yeah, for real.
Go help somebody else, because here's the thing. While you're walking, when you're having your bad, I want to give you, because remember, the point is about finding your happy, right? Mm-hmm. And so in the meantime, if you're saying, my life is jacked up and I got all this stuff going on or whatever case to be, and I'm trying to figure out and I'm trying to wait and hear from God and I'm fasting and God ain't answered me yet, okay, all right, fine. In the meantime, find somebody that you can help. Find somebodies that you can help. And I guarantee you, whatever you have going on, if you're upset at a 10, it will drop to a 9 or an 8 or a 7 or a 1, or it might completely eliminate itself because of the feeling that you get from walking and helping somebody else. And then you might mess around and figure out what your purpose is in the process of helping somebody else out. Okay? So here's the thing. When people get depressed, they what's the first thing that they do? They concede, right? They go into a hole and I don't want to talk to nobody. And what happens? It becomes even worse because as humans, we're really not supposed to not be around people. That's why this whole COVID thing kind of hurts some people, because we're actually supposed to interact. As a matter of fact, when people are not with somebody from a relationship perspective, there's actually a hormone that gets released in your head that makes it not feel good. Why is that? Because Mother Nature does not really want you to be by yourself. So do we need to go to the scripture on a man alone and what that does? Okay, so Mother Nature sets your mind up. That's why the people be like, I'm happy being alone. They're lying, okay? So I just want to listen. They're lying most of the time. Maybe sometimes they're telling the truth, but most of the time they're lying. So what was my point? My point is that, if you're in that space right now, and I really want to, I'm being candid with most of the things that I'm saying, but I want to be very for real right here because, inside of the space that we exist in, I believe our bishop talked about this a couple of weeks ago. We were looking at a lot of the stats that exist on, with COVID or whatever, right? But in 2018, 48,000 people committed suicide?
Wow.
And we were tripping when there were 15,000 people with COVID. 48,000 died in 2018 because of themselves. Mm-hmm. Okay? And so why was that? Whatever depressive state, whatever. Man, I am not a doctor, so I can't break everybody down. And no disrespect to anybody who's lost somebody who's committed suicide. I've had some friends that have left this earth through that, and it's hurtful because sometimes you start thinking, man, what could I have done? Maybe I should have picked up the phone and maybe I this. But I want to share this with you to say that mental illness of that, because that's really what it is, okay, is that a lot of it comes from the lack of self-worth, the lack of direction. And here's the thing. When you start helping somebody, you'll stick around just to help them because that person is igniting something inside of you. You know what I'm saying? Or even a thank you, or I never would have made it without you, whatever case to be. A good friend of mine, April Mason, she's in the relationship space, has hundreds of thousands of followers, whatever. Last night she did an episode on weight, right? And so somebody sent her a message, DM'd her, and she shared it with everybody. So this is why I know this. And the person was just like, I have been struggling lately with suicide. But tonight, you saved me by sharing with me your story. Hello. She was naturally sharing her story. And this other person received it and is on this earth one more day. So the things that you're going through right now, they're not for you. They're for somebody else. So if you don't know what direction that you're going in, it's okay. But we just need to bring that on together. I mean, of course, can't satisfy this type of conversation inside of 1 hour. But the critical piece of that is that in the meantime, go help somebody else. And I'm talking about outside of your family. right? If you only have somebody inside of your family, cool, you can help them out. But somebody outside of your immediate mom, dad, brother, sister, cousin, somebody, coworker, friend, whatever, you have a substance that exists inside of you that the world is waiting to feel. The world is waiting to read. The world is waiting to receive. And only you can bring it. And so if you love God, if you walk in your purpose, if you work to help other people out, you will accidentally become happy. You will accidentally maximize your relationship. You will accidentally move to other levels. Okay, everybody want to get to them other levels, but they don't want to do what it takes to get there. And so that's just a little secret sauce of how that can happen.
That's right.
But did I answer your question, Chauncey?
Oh, yeah, you definitely did. You did answer my question and more. So,
So I have a question for, because I know you were kind of pointing this towards like the single people. What advice would you give them as far as how should they date at all while trying to find their happy, or should it just be like just you and God, or should they see what they want by dating, or however? What advice do you have?
I want to answer that in two phases. Number one, this is not just for single, because even those people who are married and maybe you started things off, and I kind of admitted that as well. I didn't start off in that direction of my purpose, right? But sometimes you got to blow the whistle. Okay, sometimes you have to call a timeout. Sometimes you have to hit the reset button. And what better time to do that than now, right? Where we're chilling at home just a little bit more. The interesting part is that when you're at work, and I'm going to come back to your question, so just don't I'm going there. I just want to talk to my married people, because they might just think that I'm just only talking to single people. No married people, okay? Because here's the thing. Watch this. When you're at work and expenses are high and revenues are low, what y'all do? You call a meeting. Or you involved in the meeting, right? And you turn around and you do research, and you're just like, okay, somebody got to get hired, fired. We have to bring some other things on board, business continuity, whatever the case to be, and turn around and steer the ship in a different direction. And so for my married people that might be in this space, whereas your happiness might not be where it needs to be at, my question to you is that not only the things that we just spoke about, because those still are rendered for you as well that you need to work on, but then have you sat down and communicated, not in heat, in regular, and just let's sit down and have a conversation. I don't like where I am, okay? And I'm going to walk in this, I would like to start walking in this direction, right? And so now you're collaborating with somebody, and so, you either going to get their help, or maybe you might not get their help. You might not get it. Okay, because here's the thing. You didn't give that person a chance to sign up for you back when you were supposed to figure yourself out. So now that you're presenting something on the table, they might not sign up for it. You might have to take that walk by yourself, okay, and still be married with that person, right? And that's a whole nother conversation. That's difficult to do or whatever. But the thing is that you got to stop being scared to call time out. This is not working. We need to do something different. We need to hit the reset button. Right, and so to kind of circle back to your point of I'm trying to remember the whole point that you asked. Sure.
How should they go about?
Yeah. So how should they go about what? I want to make sure I address it.
Dating when they're trying to find their
whether they entertain. Here's the thing. There's nothing wrong with dating for entertainment, but remember what I said earlier, right? That it's rude if you're going to commit to somebody and you have not taken the proper steps to understand yourself first. You can date for entertainment, because what are you doing? You're sifting, right? You're figuring out the type of people that you do like, the type of people that you don't like. So, I don't think that there's anything wrong with that, but I do think that there's something wrong if you're going to turn around and commit to somebody and you don't know who you want to be first. You don't know what direction. You don't even know where you want to live, okay? And you want to go and hook up in a whole relationship.
Yeah.
And now you want to finally figure out yourself, and you in New York, and you want to move to Cali, and you mad because they don't want to move with you. Well, if you had figured that out in the beginning, and you knew where you were going to go, you would have gave them an opportunity from day one to figure out whether they want to sign up for you for Cali in the future or let you go right now.
Yeah.
Okay? So that's why that's so important, because, people just think, oh, he doesn't love me enough to move. No, okay? Because maybe that's not where he needs to be. Maybe that's not his direction. Maybe that's not his purpose. And it's your fault for not figuring that out, because if you had broke up with him at week 2, it wouldn't have mattered that much. It matters now that it's 6 months and you're having sex with him, and a year later and y'all got an apartment and now you want to figure yourself out. You're going to have to walk those dogs, okay? So put yourself in a situation where you can set yourself up to win by understanding who you are first, and that's why with dating for entertainment, Cherie, there's nothing wrong with people doing that. It's that committal is where they need to watch before they make that step.
Okay.
That's a good point. Are you open to some questions from the audience at this point?
Oh, yeah, go ahead, yeah. Do they still like me? Because I be saying stuff that be upsetting people, so I'm sorry.
Oh, no, they're in. I want to make sure
some people are going to break up tonight, and it's going to be my fault, but I don't care.
Definitely feel free to ask questions, everybody. Like I said, this is Elam King. I know personally he's given me some great advice in my walk. So just a question sort of related to that. For someone such as myself, I consider myself like super ambitious, always striving for different goals. How do you balance that? Like after you found your purpose and you're running full-fledged towards it, how do you keep that balance of chasing that and still, complimenting someone's happy at the same time?
I love that question, and I'm just going to give you one word: communication. Okay? Communication is one of the biggest downfalls. It's actually one of the top 3 reasons for divorce. Number one is infidelity. Number 2 is finances. Number 3 is communication. And number 3 and number 1 bounce back and forth between number 1 and number 3. So that means that sometimes the number 1 is communication. Finances knows, and I know we talked about that last week. That one's going to stay there. So people say it's not about the money. That's another lie that people told you, okay? It is about the money. That's in the Bible too, okay? You can read that verse at your leisure. So, the communication is important, and everybody's grown until it's time to communicate. Once it's time to communicate, people take their ball and where they go? Home, because you're not understanding me and you're not listening to me, whatever the case it be. But so here's the thing: if you are running, it's what I would say one of the key pieces is making sure that you're communicating with your significant other, with your spouse, about what that direction looks like. Okay, just like let's just say new year, new you, right? People love in the beginning of the year, I'm just gonna do something new, whatever the case it be. How many of us sit down during the Christmas holiday and map out our following year? Okay, call a meeting and map out, first quarter, this is where I'm running. Now we can have a conversation with the ching, ching, ching and all the candy canes and all that. During all the happiness, you can roll out some tough stuff that you might want to do the following year. Not saying that it's not going to change, right? But what are you going to do first quarter, second quarter, third quarter? Even when I ask people to do vision boards, I tell them to do 1, 3, 5, and 10. What are you going to do? What are you trying to accomplish over the first year, over the third year, over the 5th year, over the 10th year? So the 10th year, you're giving that person the opportunity of looking out and saying, hey, one day you want to be in Congress. Now that person knows whether or not they need to sign up for whether they need to watch the stuff that they send over social media or not, what I'm saying? Or whatever. Or maybe what are you going to do over the first year? Because let's just say for you, Champ, if you're rolling out during first quarter, like you do a lot of stuff with the music, right? So let's just say indirectly you kind of did it with me, right? When you were talking about the latter portion of last year, you're like, I'm going to be running, I'm going to be doing this, I'm going to be doing that. So that let me know if I don't see you on Sunday, or if you're not available for this on the men's ministry or the youth ministry, whatever, you set the vision. So I had a chance to recalibrate at that point and be like, nah, bruh, you can't do that. Or, okay, I get it, right? And so that's where I think the communication is one of the biggest pieces, because when that person loves you, they're able to take a look and understand, A, what the walk looks like because they're taking it, right? And then B, love you through your moment, even though they might want you home a little bit more, maybe, and then there has to be compromise, right? And so to your point, one of the things that I do want to share with you, Champ, is that you actually, when you're taking that run, it would be best for you to create a system to whereas, okay, baby, I'm going to run real hard first quarter, but April, the first week in April, we're going to go on a cruise or something. You know what I'm saying? It could be, or something that she wants. It doesn't have to be vacation, but you're giving back to that person of just saying, for your sacrifice that you're making for first quarter, for me to run and do what God has called me to do, I'm going to give back to you. Maybe you spend an extra couple of Saturdays with Carson so that she can run and do her thing, or, hang out with the girls, whatever, or maybe just sit and read a book and chill, whatever. You know what I'm saying? So that's where, again, what does the communication look like? So you're asking them for a sacrifice, maybe of time and energy or money or whatever. You're taking money out the household and go to do this or go do that. So then you turn around and you communicate to them so that they can understand today. Because the problem is, what we do is that we just say, yeah, I'm going to do my thing, baby. I'm just out here running. And then when you're not around January, February, March, and then in February when she heated, you're like, well, I told you I was going to do my thing. Yeah, you did, but you didn't really. You didn't. What does it really look like to the best of your ability? What are you expecting of me, right? And so undisclosed expectations are one of the biggest relationship killers because osmosis only works in biology. It doesn't work in relationships. Just because you're with somebody, they don't magically, deliciously just absorb the way that you think and they just know. That's a lie.
That's my problem.
They don't. And usually, well, you should know they got a whole nother brain. They were raised a whole nother way. Mm-hmm. And just because you're with them, whatever it is, it doesn't mean that they automatically know. And that's why ongoing communication is always important. And you're going to have to say it 10 times and maybe 20 times. And or not take it as personal when they don't happen to do it. Because there's two reasons why people don't do something. I'm going to give you just real quickly. Either they don't know how or they don't want to. Mm. Every reason why you don't do something is one of those two.
Wow.
Okay? You don't know how or you don't want to. So you might think, let's use Cherie, you might think that he knows how to sift through his brain and then still do what you're asking him to do. Mm-hmm. Because in your mind, you're like, okay, well, just take the trash out, right? And he's just like, I would have taken it out, but in my mind, I'm like, we could push it down about 2 more times before I take it out. So you're like, well, it looks like it's high enough. You're like, well, we can actually hold this trash till tomorrow. Mm-hmm. Step on that bad boy and push it down a little bit. And I'm being candid, but that happens in so many other areas to whereas they're using another brain going through the process. Mm-hmm. So unless you designate something as a non-negotiable, which kind of can arrest somebody's brain of just saying, okay, this is how this has to be done. Other than that, everything is ambiguity. And it's subjective. And so they're going to come up with maybe their own reasoning and rationale behind it. So that's why, again, communication is so important. Because if you're clearly communicating it, and sometimes you have to communicate it again and again, guess what? Michelle communicates all the time about my shoes by the door. They by the door right now, okay? Because I don't want to take them upstairs. I don't want to. Yeah. I understand in her mind the way she thinks, but I don't want. Do I do it sometimes? Yes. But I don't want to. And so once she realized that, she doesn't even say anything anymore. She might fuss every now and then, but she realizes, okay, so that, again, it just goes back to effective communication and letting somebody know exactly what your parameters are, and then they can know whether, how they're going to react on it. Does that make sense?
Oh, that's really good. What do you guys, you have any thoughts on that?
Oh, we got the church finger up. Church finger for Cherie.
He can go first.
I just want to say, man, you hitting the nail on the head. I'm so glad that my wife and I really got involved with this because literally we're learning through a season right now where I've had to learn like how important it is to communicate, like, because I'm in a running season. I'm in a COVID for me hasn't slowed anything down. It's sped everything up. I'm running. And like sometimes like I have that thought like, oh, my wife should know like, oh, this is my running season. This is what it looked like. You know, sometimes I think like that, but I realize I need to communicate to that with her more. And so you hitting the nail on the head with that, like, or plans. Yeah.
Because it's such a busy season for him, learning to be more intentional about like setting aside, even if it's 5 minutes.
Right.
By the way, here's my plan for the day.
Yeah.
And for me too, because with him being really busy, my mind moves a million miles a minute. So I get all these plans in my head. So yeah, communication is key for sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I mean, it's a continuous process, and I always like to encourage people that, you know, as you begin, even if you gain something from tonight, okay, and you're going to start walking forward with it, it's like learning a new language, right? You ever talk to somebody who's trying to speak English, and instead, you know, you and I, if I say, I'm going to the store, Cherie, you're like, okay, I understand you. But somebody else might be like, I to store. And you got to use context clues and be like, they're basically trying to say they're trying to go to the store. You have to take that same level of patience with your spouse, of just watching them try and fail and try and fail and try and fail. It does not magically, deliciously happen overnight. Just because inside of your brain you might have this down, the other person does not. And you have to, you know, use discernment of, again, when somebody's not doing it because they don't want to or because they don't know how.
Right.
Yeah. And to add to that, I'm learning, because this is our 3rd year of marriage, like you have to find how your spouse communicates or how they process things. Because
I'm listening, but y'all got to give me 30 seconds, but I'm still listening. Go
okay.
ahead.
For me, it's like I can say something and I'm like, okay, we talked about it. I just put it, it's like a statement. I'm like, we talked about it. He was like, you just said it. We didn't talk about it. It wasn't a conversation. And I'm like, wait, I literally told you. He was like, yeah, you stated it, but we didn't talk about it. So that's how he processes things with me. If it's stated, I'm like, oh, okay, we talked about it. So that's how I learned how he communicates, and he sees how I communicate. So I think that's real interesting.
That's real, because that's how Chelsea and I we clash sometimes. And that I'm like, well, I told you I had something to do on Saturday.
Yeah.
Talk about it. And I'm like,
it's like I'm dressed and ready to go. Like, what you doing?
So yeah, that's real. And or sometimes I'll mention in passing, or it goes, it's even better as this. Sometimes she'll be in the room and I'm talking to somebody and I say, yeah, I got a show on Saturday, and she won't know, but I think since she was in the room, she was part of the discussion.
Right.
So
I was like, you didn't hear it? Like,
you didn't hear? It was a room discussion. Like, I have a show on Saturday, and Saturday comes and she's like, where are you going? I'm like, I got a show.
The show, like.
Oh, that's.
And you like, I told you.
Yeah.
And one of those things, particularly with men, and I always like to share this with ladies. And again, the reason why I think that this is important is because when we're talking about happy and somebody else possibly, you know, not making you happy, you have to look at what are your expectations inside of that person, and and so I'm not going to give an excuse. I'm going to share with ladies that, particularly when it comes to men, you know, we were basically raised to not communicate. Okay, don't act like a girl. Don't express your emotions. You know, don't cry. Oh, I wish you would. You know what I'm saying? Built for tough. None of us were raised together. However, why am I saying something that you automatically identify with when I said those things? Right? You've heard them, right? And so then we mess around and we meet you, and then we fall in love with you. We don't even know how we feel, because while you were playing with dolls and trying to make house and all that, we were like with marbles and playing ball, right? So, you know, all of a sudden this love thing comes around, I don't know, and because we weren't dating intentional, okay? And now all of a sudden we're with you and you want to communicate. Talk about your feelings. And we like, yo, why is she tripped? Like, I love you, all right. You know what I'm saying? Like, we don't even, because we're still trying to process how we feel, because we weren't taught this. Health class taught us about, you know, eggs and sperm and maybe a woman's cycle or whatever, but they never really talked about the interaction, the interpersonal between people, right? That your brain is like this, and my brain is like this, and they don't think the same all the time. Okay, so that wasn't communicated, and so now we're thinking that you think just like me, and I think just like you. You just wear a skirt and I got on pants. No, that's not the way it is. We process things completely different, right? Yeah. And so I think that you have to walk in understanding what type of person that you're communicating with, and also there are some ladies that don't like to communicate too, right? Because of different factors that exist. So. When we're looking at the word happy, I think it just kind of gets thrown around so much because the expectation that somebody else is supposed to bring us our happiness or whatever. And when I within 2 to 3 conversations on average, I can tell whether somebody is happy within themselves. And my average client that I work with is probably in their 40s and 50s. I don't even have that many clients in their 20s, to be honest with you. And guess what? The majority of my clients have not met their happy yet, and got bank accounts, what I'm saying, doing real well. But when I talk to them by themselves, they're not happy within themselves because they're doing something. The devil works overtime to keep you in survival mode, because if you're in survival mode, then he can constantly pull you so easily, right? And survival mode is not operating and you're happy, but I have to pay these bills, and I got little Johnny needs college, and what I'm saying, so I'm just going to keep running. Meanwhile, I understand you got to pay bills, but over here you should be building something. Don't look at the whole staircase. Take it one step at a time. It might take you 10 years. It's okay. You already been here like 50, you know what I'm saying, or 45 or 35 or whatever. So what's another 10 to try to actually get you somewhere, right? And so when that faith as a mustard seed thought process comes in, right? And you have to understand of leaning on of God and not leaning on your own understanding. And then just knowing that he's going to bring you the desires of your heart, but he also wants to see you go to work. And we don't know whether that work is going to be a year. I mean, Champ might get a Grammy next year. He might not get a Grammy for 20 years. We don't know. But that journey that he does along the way is what structures and what builds him so that he can turn around and strengthen his brother, as it was saying in Luke, right? So he's got to go through some trials so that he's capable of strengthening his brother. I don't mean it.
It's good.
No,
It's good.
I feel like I was about to go into the word and preach too much. I'm trying to just be regular.
Look, you got all
do
these
that.
people in the comments. I don't know how many people done told you to preach. So,
nah,
I don't know, man.
no, sir. Bishop, that's Bishop. You got that, Bishop.
Find your happy, Elam.
Oh, nah, that ain't.
But yeah, man, I want to make sure we're within the time constraints. So we have to soon. But just any I do want to ask one final question for myself. What's some advice you would give to a couple like our age, mid-20s, early 30s? What's some advice you would give a couple in that range right there? I mean, I know it's probably a lot you could give, but
don't have no kids now. This way, so them jokers expensive. Why you messing around? I don't care.
He's like, I'm so serious right now.
I'm so serious. Like for real, people. But again, you have to. Seriously, be intentional. Be intentional about your moves together and your moves individually, because and you have to really unlearn what some of the baby boomers and I guess some Generation X, Generation X might have taught you, whatever case may be, to whereas if you're not intentional about your finances, if you're not intentional about your communication, if you're not intentional about your love language, if you're not intentional about your purpose, if you're not intentional about your walk with Christ, these are base. I didn't say anything big. Finances, love, God, why you're here, You see what I'm saying? These are baseline things to whereas sometimes they get clouded because, you know, we want to do what society says or whatever the case to be, and just, you know, even the term, you know, just want to get rich and make a lot of money. No, you don't. You don't really want to do that. You want to get rich within your spirit. You want to get rich within your commitment, you know, to God. You want to get rich within your walk and your purpose. You know, somebody out there is making a whole lot of money making doorknobs. That's what they wanted to do. Okay? Somebody, look, this is a little thing that goes to the trampoline for my daughter. Like somebody somebody wanted to make toys. That's what they wanted to do. Okay? Yeah. And as they did that, then they blew up. Whether blew up was 1 year, 5 years, 10 years, who knows? Right? Find what your blow up is as soon as possible. And if you did it wrong, like me, call a meeting within yourself, fast, right? And or sit with your significant other and say, you know what? This is the direction that I would like to go in. And they're saying this is the direction I would like to go in. Okay, how can you interweave that so whereas, you know, she got her happy, you got yours, and we're going like this constantly. And then we're communicating. Because notice how my hands keep moving, because this is going to keep moving. Right? Life is going to happen, evolution and things of that nature. So you have to keep coming back and calling those meetings. Keep coming back. Treat your marriage like a business if you're married. Okay? Treat it like a business. Because sometimes you got to, hey, this love is not working right now. Okay? Ain't enough loving going on right now. Let's have a grown conversation. Right? Let's sit down and talk about this. Right? Or so... I hope that answers your question, Champ, with regard to just being intentional at this stage. Don't just think that, you know, we're young, so we'll figure it out. Yo, you're going to look up, and you're going to be 43 or 50 or 55 or 65. If all of us are saying this, that means you're not immune to it. And if you keep going to bed, getting up, going to work, come home, go to bed, get up, boom, 20 years goes by just like that.
Yeah.
Just like that. And you're like, what? Like, Avion was just in the crib. Dude is 19. I don't know what happened. Mm-hmm. Don't know what happened. I was there. I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, you know, but, so, yeah, be intentional always. From now to that last breath. Because even I would share this with people who are 60 and 70 and 80. Sometimes my older saints, you know, they think that, okay, well, I've made it. No, you haven't. Okay? Abraham was 70 and changed all the way around. Sarah was what, 98, 94? So don't tell me that you're done. You know what I'm saying? There are plenty of people that there's plenty of talents. The God that we serve is just that big, whereas at 65 and 75, you can still wake up and do things completely different.
Yeah.
What's the you dropped a ton of information. I know some people may want to hear more. How can they, you know, connect with you, reach out to
Absolutely.
You? Best way for that.
Absolutely. Well, first of all, I want to thank you guys for even just having me on this platform this evening. You know, I this is an assignment for me, so I apologize if I get a little hype every now and then, but this is what gets me amped, you know. And you know, I'm just going to continue to follow in that, and I would encourage you to look for that same level of passion and desire within yourself, and know that it you know, you can do it the hard way, like me, and just keep pushing stuff off, and one day be like, okay, all right, God, you know, or you can you know, at a younger age or whatever, or as soon as possible, start to walk in that capacity. So on social media. You can follow me on Facebook, Understanding a Man page. I also have, you know, my regular one, but Elam B. King, but I be talking about everything on there. I be doing all types of stuff. And then on Instagram, Elam B. King as well. You can always visit me on my website, understandingaman.com. You can go there right now and click on the PayPal button and go ahead and order your next copy of the Understanding a Man book. And it's on Audible as well, iTunes and all that stuff. I also have a podcast as well, the Understanding a Man podcast. Our amazing guest last week, Mr. Shonda Davis was recently on that, talking about finances, and so we have some other stuff we're going to be talking about as well. It's PG-13. But and I think that's most of my platforms that I have. And I do want to share that if I want to say this just in the presence of you guys, that if there's anything tonight that you might have received or whatever, I would ask that, even if it's just $1 that you sow into Greater Works, just because of the structure and the entity that exists within Greater Works and the great family that we do have there, to whereas we just wanted to come before you and provide some information. And so even if it's $1 or $5 or whatever, if you could just sow in Champ, you can give them whatever the Cash App is or PayPal or whatever case may be. And just, I hope that something that was said will bless your life, and feel free to go back and watch the replay and send me some feedback, because I love feedback, good or bad. I love feedback. So, and then I also, I am a relationship coach. So if you're interested, you can send me an email to info@understandingaman.com. Again, info@understandingaman.com, or you can go to my website, understandingaman.com, and just send me a, what do people do? They click on the contact us and just send me a message. I was like, what do they do? They send a message, yeah. So, and so whether it's individual or whether it is couples, it's something I like to walk inside with you as well. So you can schedule your free 30-minute session, and we can just kind of talk and see whether that I'm the best fit for you.
Man, that's awesome. I want to say thank you. Just thank you for taking the time and sharing nuggets with us, because, people pay hundreds of dollars just to get talk about this stuff. And I think it doesn't go stated enough that relationships aren't talked about in the right light as much as they should be, as far as how to, the simple thing of communicating, like, is so understated. So thank you for sharing that. It impacted me, and I'm taking some nuggets away from this for sure. I don't know, you guys have any final thoughts, or pretty good?
That was awesome. Yeah. Taking nuggets away. Just followed you on Instagram. That's what I was doing. Just followed.
Oh, okay. That's what's up. Yeah, I be saying all types of stuff. Don't listen to me. And I think next week, Champ, who's gonna be on here next week?
Yeah, next week is Daniel Grimes. He's a health and fitness instructor, and he's about that life. That's every day. That's what he's doing. So I'm looking forward to that, helping us stay fit.
Get these abs.
Get the abs right. I heard one lady say her goal was to look like Lori Harvey, and she ended up looking like Steve Harvey. So might tune in on this. Shree, you have any final thoughts?
Nah, I just know it was a lot in there. That was really good. Took some mental notes.
Anything you want to leave people with, Elam?
Hey, I don't have, like, that parting great word. I don't know whether I do or not, but the only thing that I would say is that just recognize that God first, follow your assignment, help other people. Just go in that right there. God first, walk in your assignment, help other people. All the other things will be added unto you. Dare you to prove me wrong.
That's good.
Nice, yeah.
Thank you, man. Well, look, thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Feel free to donate. Feel free to connect with Elam, reach out to him, follow him on social media. And stay tuned next week, Tuesday at 7 p.m. We'll be back here talking about health and fitness. And so it's free. Make sure you show up, share it with your friends. And this will be free.
You don't get this for the free. No, especially what Shonda was dropping last week.
Yeah, that was
you don't get that for the free. Let alone, I know I gave it. No, I'm just playing.
No, you did. You really did. So this will be available to rewatch, share with your friends, check back in an hour, and it should be up and ready to go. So thank you guys so much. But with that, we are going to tune out, and we'll see you guys next week, same time.
Thank you for having me. You guys have a good night.
You too.
All right, bye-bye.